What do you think of the energy temperature right now inside your room?
Well, the energy's been great. You know, we got a bunch of young guys in there. We have one returning starter, Malcolm Kennedy, that all you guys are aware of. Done a great job leading for us, and we absolutely need that. We've expected that out of him. He's done a really nice job of that. I think there's a lot of competition in that room. I've said this before, that's a coach's best friend. It may be the best we've had since I've been here. There's a lot of hungry guys. Of course, there's 3 spots that nobody's been able to lock those down, so there's a lot of competition for those spots and playing time.
How much do you think Speedy's going to benefit from having been here in the spring, gone through the lulls and the ups and downs of the spring, and now having a fall with all of that background?
Well, anytime anybody can get here early like that, it puts them ahead. Just with the process of how things work. I mean, it's incredible what the first 2 days are like for a new guy, just understanding the process of how even getting to the locker room each day works. Imagine what it's like when you're trying to put all that together and then going to class. In addition to going to tutorials, they're used to going to 2 classes now, and they're going to have to go to 5 or 6 classes. So there's a lot of different transitions that come in with those young guys, and he as a result has definitely benefited from that. We talked about that today when we were out there. I said, hey, how glad are you that you were here early? He said, Coach, I mean, I feel so much more comfortable as a result. So I think it was really good for him.
How special could he be right away?
Well, I mean, that's yet to be seen. I mean, until they get out to that big field, it's hard to tell. But he is a very talented kid, not unlike the rest of the guys that we recruited. I know he's a highly recruited kid, and you saw what he did in high school. He obviously did some things for us in the spring. The great thing I love about Speedy is he's never satisfied. He's very easy to coach. He wants to learn. He wants to get better. He knows that there's a long way to go. He also understands that he's a freshman, and that's a process. Everything that's coming at him is new. And everything he's experiencing, it's the first time he's seen it, and he's having to deal with it. Like you said, getting here early helps a little bit, but not everything. So the big thing for me is not putting too much pressure on him as a young guy and letting him be able to grow in our system.
What are you seeing from Ricky Seals-Jones and just how he's progressing?
You know, Ricky's done exactly what, we've expected him to do. He's grown and matured. He's become a mature player as a young guy. The one thing I really like to see about Ricky is he's become more of a leader. He's one of those guys that he works hard every day. He's here early, he's here late. He talks, he speaks. He's a leader by his actions. So I've really been pleased with what he's done in that category, because we need those younger guys to come along. He's done a really nice job for us there, and he's also been able to play a few different positions, which makes him nothing but more marketable in the future. So I think he's bought into it and he's excited about it.
Can you describe that versatility of him? Like how he can go in the slot, he can go wide receiver?
Yeah, I mean, one of those things is his size is very unique. I mean, a guy that's that big, he can do a lot of different things. We could line him up in the backfield, we can line him up at tight end, we can line him up in the slot, we can line him up outside. With that height, we could throw him a jump ball and do a lot of different things that are obvious. But there's a lot of things that we haven't necessarily shown yet that kid's going to be able to do for us. And he's a unique player. He's got speed at that size. And he's got a great work ethic. There's a lot of guys that look great, but they don't pack a work ethic behind it, and they don't pack an ability to learn like he does, because that's important when you want to do a lot of things with a kid, that he can learn, and he can do that. He's a smart kid.
Should we be talking more about Josh Reynolds?
I think Josh is a kid that you'll start talking about just by virtue of what you see. And we talk about that all the time. We go by what we see. We go by production. Probably the biggest theme for us in camp is 2 things. Compete, because there's a lot of good players in that room. And number 2 is production. We go by what we see. If you produce, then you're going to be on the field. We don't care about stars. We don't care about rankings. Once they get here, it's about what you do, your body of work. And I tell them my job's pretty easy. The cream always rises. You separate yourself. So I'm looking for those guys that are going to separate themselves. And to this point, Josh has been one of those guys that's really done a good job of doing that.
What about the other newcomers? What about the 8 hours this summer? How much do you feel that's helped?
Man, I'll tell you what, that might be one of the best changes I've seen in college football in a number of years. Not only that it's been able to put them ahead in terms of what we're able to teach them and what they've been able to digest, because we're way ahead of what we've been in the past. But just in the process, like I talked about earlier, there's a lot less surprises when it comes into just how are we going to do this. That's been a big deal for us. And then training them on how we are as coaches and what we expect. Before we couldn't talk to them. We finished with them in spring. and they got here in the summer as freshmen, and we were barely able to speak to those kids. So those 8 hours a week have been just great for us, and we really enjoyed it, you know.
Coach, what do you want you guys to do more? You're not on the field, but what is the day of work consist for them?
Well, you know, the big thing for us is being a pro. And what do you do with yourself when you're not practicing? And the big thing for us tomorrow is, number one, take care of our body, because we're looking at 6 straight from this point forward. So we just got finished talking about tomorrow being a big deal when it comes to relating to those 6 straight practice, actually 6 days, and there's going to be a couple of 2-a-days in there. So there's a lot of workouts that they're staring at. So they got to maximize these next 24 hours when it comes to that. And then we got to take that opportunity to spend some time in the film room, get some things cleaned up from day 1 and day 2 install, be ready to get ahead in day 3, and go back to day 1 and day 2 and be better than we were the first time we hit it.
What are the biggest questions you're looking for answers to from your group?
I think for me it's going to be who's willing to compete, and then who will produce. Who's willing to compete, and then who will produce. Who handles adversity well, how do they handle it, and then who separates themselves. I know they all have work ethics. You know, we're very fortunate right now that we're recruiting guys that you better have a good work ethic or it's not a place for you. So I already know the answer to that with most of them. Now I got to see how they react to adversity. You know, who can separate themselves? Those are the biggest questions I have.
Coach, from a wide receiver standpoint, of course, the quarterback battle going on and everything, have the guys told you anything or expressed anything they feel more comfortable with one guy than the other?
No, they haven't. They don't get involved in that. Neither do I. You know, when that ball's in the air, our job's to catch it. We don't care who throws it.